Well, in any normal regard, it would kind of just be better off for me to record a video using the webcam that I have back there, that webcam. But there's just sometimes some moments where you have to stand up and you have to just kind of pace around the room in a fit of anger and a mix of other emotions that I've just kind of built up throughout this entire season, which has led up to this moment right here. So the Tennessee season comes to a long-awaited end for most of us, as the game against West Virginia was canceled, as COVID numbers rose up for Tennessee, including with Jeremy Pruitt, the Tennessee players, and the coaches. All of the football stuff aside, I hope that all of our players, the coaches, and Jeremy Pruitt, I hope all of them recover from corona, and I hope they make a quick and fast recovery. I want to wish that upon anybody, and I'm gonna be having my prayers for a lot of these guys, especially Jeremy Pruitt, because the fact is, I think everybody knows what's coming. I've come to the conclusion now, after this season, looking back at the past seasons, the thing that was making fans believe in Jeremy Pruitt and making people think that he should be the next head coach at Tennessee was the fact that they had an idea that after the terrible 2018 and 19 season, that the 2020 season was going to be an improvement. We weren't going to look nearly as bad, and we were going to get our things together, and we were going to come out and, not dominate, but at least be able to compete with the big boys and beat the little ones. If y'all told me that at the beginning of the season that we were going to end up this bad, then I would have felt the same amount of rage as a lot of our other fan base feels right now. So in that regard, I do pray for Jeremy Pruitt, because I've come to the conclusion that it is inevitable that at some point down the line, whether that's not tomorrow, next week, a couple of months for some reason, or next season, Jeremy Pruitt is probably getting fired from Tennessee. I really do think that. I hope that when that does happen, I hope that he's able to find a job, which I honestly think he would. He's an amazing, talented defensive coordinator, and probably one of the best defensive coordinators that anybody has to offer. He's not a good head coach. He just isn't. I haven't seen anything that makes me think that he is, and I share a lot of the other fans' frustration when I see how the season has gone. It doesn't make sense to me how you could go from beating South Carolina, Missouri, and having an 8-game winning streak that previously extended from last year to then going on and losing 6 games in a row and losing the last 7 of 8 that you play on the schedule. It's been a terrible season, to say the least, and I don't even know where to begin for the most part. This is basically a wrap-up video of the season. I did this last year after we beat Indiana in a 1-point miracle victory, which we don't get many of those. So I'm going to do the same this year and just kind of wrap up my thoughts on the entire season and get this out of the way so that we can move on to the rest of whatever's going to happen in advance. Basically, this season has been a total waste, a total dumpster fire, a trash can. This team is atrocious in every single way that you want to say it is. And it doesn't... The problem is, we've gone backwards. Even last year, which is honestly not very good in Tennessee standards, losing to both Georgia State and BYU. And then, of course, the winning streak that everyone remembers, which that was a good winning streak. I love that winning streak, and I love what we were able to do there. This year is just, it was awful. It's awful. It's just terrible. You can make all the excuses you want as a coach and as a fan, but the reality is there's no excuse that could make up what's happened in this season. More blowout losses to our big rivals, Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. Blowout loss to Kentucky. Loss to Auburn, Arkansas, Texas A&M. Losing to these teams is, and the fashion we did, is unacceptable. So, you're at least, we didn't expect you to be able to win the Florida, Georgia, and Alabama game, but we expected you to be able to compete. And you didn't do that. Not at all. They had their second string squads out there beating the crap out of us. At least Alabama did. And this whole thing started when I decided that I was going to make a celebratory video in the halftime of the Georgia Tennessee game, and then it just all went to crap. And other than the Vanderbilt game, all of our losses combined, we've scored like a total of 14 points or some crap like that in the second half, which is absolutely unacceptable in any regard. There are a lot of issues, and of course, the first one and the most obvious one narrows down to the fact that we spent over half of our season with German Ammo, who is an awful, awful quarterback at Tennessee. Played terrible. I hope he plays good wherever he goes, but it's very unlikely that'll happen. I don't know. Unless if he goes to some D2 or Group of 5 program, I don't expect for him to play any better than how he did in the SEC. I hope he does. I really do, but who knows. He was not very good at Tennessee. In fact, he was awful. Terrible. I mean, beyond terrible. So, there's just no excuse for that type of play. And there's just so many things wrong. Like I said, Jarrett Garantano, German Ammo, he finished out this season with more passing touchdowns to the other team than to his own team. And this was after the Georgia game, not throughout the entire season. But still, that's terrible. That just goes to show how bad that he's played throughout this entire season. He's just not very good. Not very good at all. Just never was. And I doubted him even when we had the 8-game winning streak. He just did not look very good, and we were lucky to get those wins. And to be honest with you, it made me even more... It told me that Marquez Callaway and Jawan Jennings were what basically bailed Jarrett Garantano out of looking like the worst quarterback in the SEC, by far. Because once they were gone, that was it. It's not like we have terrible receivers now. It's not like we have terrible receivers. We have Brandon Johnson, Velus Jones Jr., Ramel Keaton, and even our tight end, which we hardly ever see. But that being said, we never see them because Jarrett Garantano is always throwing missed throws or retarded screen passes that go 2 yards behind the line and a loss of 2 yards, which I'll get on the play calling in just a second. But Jarrett Garantano is just not a good quarterback. He never was at Tennessee, and I just hope he does good wherever he transfers. And for seven weeks, we went on with this guy, and he just was not very good. He played terrible, just garbage. Jeremy Pruitt came out in every single one of his press conferences blaming the defense for everything and explaining to people that Jarrett Garantano had a great week of practice. Never talked about the game itself, even though Jarrett Garantano literally sucks in all of his games, but that doesn't matter because he looked good in practice, right? Instead of life championships, just hand out practice championships. I'm sure that'll work out very well. We waited until the very end of the season to start Harrison Bailey. You let him play in the fourth quarter of some of these games that Jarrett Garantano already lost for us, and you let him try and go, you can help bring us back. And of course, he looks awful. That's why, in your eyes, he wasn't ready to play. You put all the pressure on him. You put him in for his first start when we were already down. Why not let him win us a game? Why not let him lead us to a victory? I don't know why you waited until then. You waited all the way up until the Florida game to actually let him start as the quarterback throughout the entire game. And even then, you didn't do that. And here's the thing that pissed me off the most about the last few games that we've played, the Texas A&M game and the Vanderbilt game. You start Harrison Bailey, all right? Makes sense. Great job. Then, after one mistake, perfect throughout the entire game, but one mistake, which, to be honest with you, we don't even make mistakes in that game. It was retarded penalties that didn't make any sense, and missed calls, and twice actually, both in the Vanderbilt and Texas A&M game, they called it a fumble when it was a forward pass. It's funny how you can get that twice. Either way, Jeremy Pruitt decides, looks like that was a mistake. All right, we're putting in JT Shrout. It doesn't make any sense. You can't drop your quarterback and just decide to put another one in after one mistake. What does that say to Harrison Bailey, huh? What example are you giving there? And to be honest with you, JT Shrout is a hit or miss quarterback. And the reason why that is JT Shrout can throw bombs. He is a dime thrower. He throws really, really, really good shotgun and deep passes. He can't do anything else. All he does is throw shotgun passes. That's all he can do. He can't throw any screens, can't throw any short passes, no slant routes, none of that. All he can throw is deep passes. That's all he can do. So, when you, as a defense, even Todd Grantham and Bo Pelini, who just got fired, can read that crap. So, why? Why put him in instead of Harrison Bailey, the guy who's capable of doing both the deep passes and the short ones? He could do it all. So why put him out to put JT Shrout in? It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. It doesn't. Not at all. Which is why the play calling is even stupider. Jim Chaney, my goodness. Chaney hasn't made terrible play calling decisions. He's definitely, what I would say, made some more interesting play calls as the time has gone on. And you can't put a lot of the blame on Chaney because he's actually done a pretty good job of doing play calls. He's been doing trick plays. I like the fourth down stuff he's got planned. We often go for it on fourth down. Sometimes he'll have some fakes planned, which that's up to Pruitt mostly, but Chaney has a part of that, I'm sure. He'll do, here's what I don't understand about Jim Chaney. When we're down a lead, which this has happened all freaking season long. When we're down, or maybe we're sacked, the quarterback gets sacked, whoever it is, and it's like 3rd and 12, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 17, 3rd and long, whatever it may be. You run it up the middle every time. What? That has to be the stupidest thing I've ever seen anybody do on 3rd down. And you can look in any Tennessee game. If it's 3rd and long, he'll do it every single time. It's very rare that I've seen Jim Chaney actually decide to do anything other than run it up the middle or a screen 2 yards behind the freaking line of scrimmage. Other than that, he really never does anything. Never really any trick plays on 3rd down. I've never really seen any. It's always the same thing over and over and over again. It's stupid. You're not fool. Well, that's the point. He's not. He's not fooling anybody. I don't know if that's the point of that, is to make, like, try and fool people into thinking that you're going for a shotgun pass, but actually you're just running it up the middle. That's not work. That's not going to work on 3rd and long. Even if you do fool them, there's no way they're going to be able to run in time for them not to be just absolutely clapped by somebody on the field. Unless if their defense is as slow as a freaking slug, which we haven't played a defense like that all season long. And we probably never will. So I don't know what you're trying to do there, but you're not fooling anybody. Which makes me think that when we get into those situations, we're not even attempting to try and do something. We're just going to give up. Which I've seen that all season long. We just give up these drives. We just let ourselves just get killed on these drives, and that's the end of it. There's really nothing else we can do. There is something else you can do, which is throw the freaking ball. Do something. And then he'll do the exact opposite on some occasions, where he'll run it up the middle on like 3rd down, but before that, he'll throw it deep on 1st and 2nd down. Get nothing out of it, and then run it up the middle on 3rd down. It's backwards is what it is. It's like this most backwards play calling I've ever seen from any offensive coordinator. It doesn't make any sense. It's improved over time. I will definitely give him that. But that pissed me off in the Georgia game. And ever since then, it's just not been as good. But of course, a lot of that has to be blamed on the quarterback. Which my biggest question is, they never let Jarrett Garantano throw the ball, German ammo. I always switch between the two. Either way, it doesn't really matter. He transferred, but they were scared to let German ammo throw the ball. They were scared. They knew he wasn't good with it. They knew he was probably going to... I mean, they knew he probably was going to throw a pick or do something in that regard. They knew. They all knew. So if that's the case, then why did you wait this freaking long to put Harrison Bailey in? He's not ready. He will never be ready. He's a freshman. He's a freshman. What do you expect from him to go? I'm ready, coach. This week I'm definitely ready. No, he'll never be ready. He's never just going to suddenly be ready to play football if he's a freshman who's never, ever played a game in college. He's not just going to suddenly be ready. You obviously have to let him have some play time, which you did way too late in the friggin' season when everything was already done and over with and the season was already over and we just pretty much had nothing left to play for. And with that being said, we finished out the season 3-7, which in a regular season, that would be 5-7. That's sad. No matter which way you look at it, that's really, really sad. I can't understand how in a year where everything lines up in our way, we somehow still digress. But I guess that is to blame. We never made any adjustments. That's the thing. That's why we were unable to score any freaking points in the first or in the second half. We come out and actually managed to hold on to these teams in the first half. Had a lead against Georgia, tied with Auburn, manageable not ties, but manageable deficits against teams like Florida and Texas A&M. And in the second half, we just get absolutely diced, throttled, thrown around, and clapped. And the reason for that is not because they figured out their adjustments and figured out every single way to counter ours. It's because of that and the fact that we do not make adjustments. Never have, and it feels like we never will. Every single game I watched this season, Tennessee came out with the same exact game plan. It worked, great. Same exact thing. It didn't work, great. Same exact thing. There was no mix-ups, which that's the whole point of having two halves and then having a halftime point in between, to have a different game plan in case it's needed. I don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why you wait to decide, all right, you know what we're going to do? All right, we're just going to decide, hey, we're going to switch up our game plan here. So, I mean, what can I say? It just doesn't make any sense to me. None. Zero. It appears that there is a color issue. I'm looking at the camera right now, and unless if I'm getting trolled, it appears that there might be a minor camera issue. The color correlation is off, so that's great. Can't fix that. But back to this. My final thoughts. Anything else I have to address? Basically, what's left to be known is we digressed. Digressed a lot. We honestly don't look very good. There isn't much of a bright future ahead if we're looking like this. Like I said, no adjustments made in the second half, which makes me honestly think that there's no adjustments that are going to be made in the season. It's like the whole team has given up. It's honestly sad. Like, really, really sad. The team shouldn't just give up like that. And I think the thing that makes me the angriest about all of this is you watch these. If you're in the mood for torturing yourself as a Tennessee fan, try to watch a Jeremy Pruitt post-game press conference. My goodness, it's the worst thing I've ever watched. Look, watching a Jeremy Pruitt press conference, I can't even describe what it's like. It's almost like watching us play against like Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. It's the most infuriating, annoying thing you can ever watch. It's like watching Jarrett Garantano Heisman reel type crap. It's pretty much that bad. The reason why I say that is because you look and you see Jeremy Pruitt say all these things. Of course, I mentioned we have a good week of practice. That's the basic gist of what he says. 50% of the time, it's good week of practice this, good week of practice that. Doesn't matter, obviously. And then the rest of it, they're blaming the defense for some occasions, which, to be honest with you, the defense has digressed too. We're blowing coverages left and right. That's not even the point. I'm not even trying to get mad about that right now. The issue, the main issue above all, is that Jeremy Pruitt waited this long to put in Harrison Bailey. Everyone gets on him for it. He blames Jim Chaney, blames the defense, blames the quarterbacks on some occasion, blames Harrison Bailey, even though he's literally perfect, besides one mistake, which most of the time it's proven it wasn't even a mistake, it was a bullcrap call by the refs. He blames all these things, but he never takes the blame for himself. Never takes the blame for himself. Is there a reason for that? Makes me wonder. Is he just that afraid of losing his job? Does the fan base really have him that scared of losing his job? Which, here's the thing. I'm half and half on what to believe here, because half, I agree. Jeremy Pruitt should be scared of getting fired. You don't go 3-7 and then think everything is rainbows and unicorns. It's far from that. The fan base is pissed off with you, and rightfully so. A lot of people want change. And 50% of this, I'm angry with the fans right now. And the reason why is I can get behind the fact that you're angry at Jeremy Pruitt and want him fired. These fans really do think that if Jeremy Pruitt ends up getting fired, that their dream man, their new head coach, is just going to automatically just be ready, jump on in, and just suddenly just start winning football games. Most of the time you'll hear it, and Hugh Freeze. Listen, Hugh Freeze ain't coming to Tennessee. We don't want him here. Nobody does. I don't know if you remember what happened 3 years ago, but it's the same exact incident. When Butch Lyle Jones got fired from Tennessee, one of the names floating around And almost the name that came up as our next head coach was Hugh Freeze. They dropped that immediately, didn't they? Wonder why. Is it because he cheated? 100%. He cheated. He cheated at Ole Miss, got caught for it, and even then at Ole Miss when he cheated, he couldn't win crap. Nobody wants Hugh Freeze, and to be honest with you, I don't want him either. So, stop with the Hugh Freeze. He's not coming to Tennessee. And to be honest with you, that's the only name that's been floating around here at Tennessee. That name. Hugh to the Who and all this. Or it's almost as stupid as what they did with John Gruden 3 years ago. So if we fire Jeremy Pruitt, I already know what's coming. That's the worst part about this. There's two ways that this could go. The firing of Jeremy Pruitt down the road. One, we actually do have our next guy, whoever that may be, and they get him ready, and they say, all right, you're ready to come over here to Knoxville? Then come on over here. And that's what happens. He comes on over here, and he fixes things, whatever that may be. Right after Jeremy Pruitt gets fired, of course. But here's what I'm thinking is actually going to happen. We're getting a repeat. And when I mean a repeat, here's what's going to happen. We're going to fire Jeremy Pruitt because of pressure from the fan base. And then, what's our plan B? Nothing. Absolutely friggin' nothing. We think, wow, all right, so Jeremy Pruitt's gone. What else? Yeah, I don't know. Who are we going to get as our next head coach? Maybe you should have thought about that before you fired him. That's what they did with Phil Fulmer back in 2008. You saw how that turned out. We ended up getting Lane Kiffin, left the program in the middle of the freaking season. We got Derek Dooley, tore the program down even further. Then we got Butch Jones and somehow tore the program down to an even further level than Derek Dooley did. Then we got Jeremy Pruitt, and now we have a 3-win season. So who's the next going to be? How are you going to screw it up this time? I at least have hope that this time we're going to find a way to not screw it up, considering the fact that Phil Fulmer's our AD. If Fulmer has any sense in this head right here, if he has any sense in this head, he's going to do two things. One, keep Jeremy Pruitt around, and then two, find the next guy. If there is somebody, a good head coach, a really good head coach that you know is a good head coach that wants to come to Tennessee and wants to make a change, then in that case, you fire Jeremy Pruitt and get him out of Knoxville. Because it's been 3 freaking years at Tennessee, and it's obvious that things aren't going to change with Jeremy Pruitt right now, and we're just going to continue to be garbage from what I know. I hope it doesn't turn out that way, and I hope Jeremy Pruitt might just get things together in 2021. But, Willie, I don't know. I really don't. You guys tell me in the comments section what you think. Will Jeremy Pruitt finally get it together in the next season? I really don't know. I want to believe so because that's about the only shot that we have of doing anything other than going further and further down the rabbit hole. Because as a Tennessee fan who's only lived through the continued route of pain, I'm hoping and hoping and hoping that we don't end up down that route. With that being said, I got to go take a massive dump. It's funny how Tennessee makes me do that. And, power to Tardaria, go Vols, and if you have any sense in the world, Jeremy, start Harrison Bailey next season, would ya? Beepity.